Good morning, everybody. Good to see you.
all.
Hope you had a good holiday.
Good morning.
Happy Saturday after Thanksgiving.
And Rob's evidently been eating a lot more than just Thursday. So
Leftovers.
we still have leftovers. We're having some today, I think. But
We still got a little bit.
Dennis is working on technical problems, so that's why he's not in his seat. But everybody else is here. Steve's here, and Jerry, and Bill.
And Gus.
Hey.
And like I say, I hope everybody had a good weekend, good holiday, and we're not really doing anything special today. I put that in the title of the show, Thanksgiving show, just because it was Thanksgiving weekend. But
you can all tell us in chat what you're thankful for.
Yeah, you can put in what you're thankful for, and we'll talk about some of that. Yeah.
If you're not thankful for anything.
And I don't know how many of you know this, but this is the start of our fourth. Whoa, that's still echoey. This is the start of our fourth year doing the show. We just wrapped up the third full year, and it's been a lot of fun for me. I know that. And I look forward to it every week because it's fun to come on and talk with everybody and see what everybody's doing. So, Dennis, I got you muted so it's not echoing.
Yes, you guys in chat have been here the whole time too. I know.
Yeah, a lot of them have.
I know John, Skilka River Valley, he has. I think Rob has. Steve, I think a lot of you guys.
And we need to do a contest, Steve. You're supposed to think about how we're going to do a contest.
Oh, I wasn't supposed to think about that. I've just got what we're giving away.
Oh, you do? Okay. We'll put it on Dennis. How about that?
Or chat. How about you guys in chat? Why don't you guys figure out a contest?
Bernard says he's thankful for all his modeling friends. Yeah.
Yep.
I agree, Bernard. Yeah. I agree. I was just telling Steve before the show, when I was flying RC airplanes, mainly building RC airplanes, my half of it for me was doing what we do on this show is the camaraderie with the guys, and the other half was building stuff. So I still get to do that. I'm building on the railroad and still get a good bunch of friends I can share the hobby with, which is always a plus. So that's what I'm thankful for. So I'll let Steve go next. Hey, why don't you do a rundown first, Steve? We didn't do that yet.
I'm thankful for everybody in chat. Oh man, we got a bunch. Holy crap. We got Rob T-Man, Steve Anderson, Stephen Wigwag, Chuck CDP, Skilka River Valley John, Dwight Curley, Dave BNSF, Lynn McCurdy, the CBQ Wyoming. Good morning. Let's see. We got Gary. Big Gary. Welcome, my buddy Bernard. We got Allison, Almar. Oh God, is that
Dave BNSF? Don't forget
Dave. I think that's everybody.
Well, and we got a special hello this morning to Joyce.
Hi, Joyce.
I'm not going to tell you who she is, and she doesn't come in chat. But good morning, Joyce. It was neat to hear that you've been watching the shows.
Yeah, my mom's a stalker. She's been watching the replay.
Hi, Joyce.
But anyway, yeah.
But no, I'm thankful for a lot of stuff. I'm thankful for my mom. She knows the whole deal. You guys, and I wake up and I can still breathe. I guess every morning you wake up, that's a good thing to be thankful for.
Well, none of us would be here without our parents. So
Very true.
There is that.
Hey, we got Randy Doman. Good morning. I haven't seen. Good morning, Randy.
Yeah, it's still echoing, Dennis. So what are you thankful for, Jerry?
thankful for my health, my
There you
family, my good friends here, my good friends out there in the real world too.
Yeah.
I've made
Yeah.
a lot of good friends in this community that are great people.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, Bill, your turn.
All right. Echoing what everybody else has said, family. Got a wonderful family. Mother, 94 and still kicking. Not thinking the best, but she's still going strong, which is, always thankful for that. And then the friends here, as well as friends in the model railroading community, the different folks that watch our channels, comment, and we interact with. So, you know what? Life is good. Even though there's not so good things going on in the world, life isn't that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your turn, Dennis.
I'm thankful for my internet and my microphones and speakers and everything that makes technology wonderful.
That works time.
Can everybody hear me? Is there still a...
No, we hear you fine now.
Yeah, you're
No, I
good
think
now.
you got it fixed.
Echo seems to be gone.
Thankfully.
No, really, I would have to say at the top of my list right now is health. I'm very fortunate to be as healthy as I am. We take things for granted often. Granted. We had a little incident in our little town of, I don't know what, the town that my wife works in, which is just up the road 21 miles, less than probably 3,000 people total. Officer involved shooting, and he's currently in the hospital, might lose his leg. And a good friend of mine ended up having to take another man's life during that police shootout.
Oh, man.
And so just slow down, enjoy life. And I am so thankful for this community of model railroaders because, we get to break away from the real world and come in and enjoy this little world of miniature fantasy land that makes life worthwhile.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Exactly. Yeah, and I'm guilty of that as well. Nothing is serious on my end, and I'm not going to go into what little health issues I have, but they're not serious for sure. And Lynn said he was thankful for his wife making home after a stroke in time for Thanksgiving and her 78th birthday.
Happy
Well,
birthday.
Wow.
to her.
Fantastic.
We hope her a speedy recovery, Lynn, for sure. Yeah, because it's going to be one of those days we'll all be at that end. So anyway,
We got Heath in chat. Morning, Heath.
oh, he's here. There you
Morning,
go.
Heath.
Hey,
Hey, Heath, you guessed the contest number right. Too bad you were a month late.
Sounds like Heath.
Oh,
he still wants to know what he won, right?
yeah, of course he does.
I think he had that buffet out of his own refrigerator. I think that's what he won. But
Oh, anyway, yeah, I'm thankful I can still get up the stairs to the layout. So mine's coming along a little bit better. I got my backdrops for the mining area. So I got up there and started doing plaster work last night. So I'm probably do some more later today and move on with that. So it's coming around.
I'm really thankful that I got that steam engine done. I should have said that. I'm really thankful that's done.
Yeah. I would imagine, yeah.
Yeah,
now you can just enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Yeah, I had my grandson over yesterday, and I fired it up yesterday. He helped me get it all ready because I had one thing I wanted to check before I shut it down for the winter. Fired it up yesterday and ran it on the thing, and it did good. And I've got it all blown out for the winter, so I don't have any water freezing in the lines. It's going to get pretty cold here in the next couple of weeks, and last thing I want is have to redo the plumbing on it.
Yeah. So let me ask you though, Steve, like you're basically done it. What was the most fun part of it?
Well, in general, it was probably the learning curve. There was a lot of challenges I had to overcome, and and that goes back to the community. There's also a quite a community in the live steam hobby, just like this, that is totally willing to jump in and help you if you have problems. I think that was probably the most enjoyable was connecting with those people. But I think the most satisfying project on it was probably the cab, because that was something that was critical for the looks on it. I wanted it done just right, and I couldn't redo it because of the redwood material I had. So it had to be right the first time.
But that part of it was right in your wheelhouse, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or the woodworking part.
It was really nice to be able to shift from the metal work, which is really not my wheelhouse, to the woodworking, and that was getting that done was probably the most satisfying. And that was so. And I still can't believe I did it in a year. I just look back and it's like, oh. I don't know how.
Well, and it looks a lot better in person than it does on here when you see it on here, but it is good looking little engine for sure.
Well, it's looking right now. It's looking like it's been breaking in. I'm trying to think how many hours I've got running it, and probably maybe somewhere between 15 and 20 hours total in running it. So it's starting to break in and fire really well, but it's also it doesn't have that real shiny that it had before. It's looking like it's been around for a while because the
steam locomotive should.
Yeah.
None of them are real shiny. After they come out of the shop, they get dirty real quick.
No, and I learned real fast, I'm not going to be real anal about keeping the brass polished on that because there's just way too much of it. Keeping it clean is one thing, but having it polished. And another thing that didn't take into account was the paint that John used for that is not a high temperature paint. It's an automotive paint. And it's starting to discolor because of the heat, which is kind of it doesn't look bad, but right next to the smoke box, it's starting to turn almost black because it's heating, and the further it goes towards the cab end, it then gets back into the blue. But the cylinders are starting to really darken, and the front next to the smoke boxes starting to it's looking aged and weathered.
Yeah, well, see, in my opinion, I think it'll look better like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Because the thing about a steam engine, any of them I've ever seen, even in a museum, they're not completely clean. They're not shiny by any means. So yeah, I think it would look better that way. I never used to wipe my airplanes off.
Mm-hmm.
If they got gasoline oil on them, because I use 2-stroke gasoline motors, and I just let the oil get on them. And I had guys come by all the time and say, "Why don't you clean that stuff off there?" I said, "It's a World War I plane. It's supposed to be dirty." Most of them didn't in World War I didn't last 2 weeks. So, but if they did, they were dirty. So, I just let it get dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rob says, yeah, best parts. There you go.
So like what? See, like when I do projects, finishing it is kind of like a bittersweet. I kind of like sometimes I don't want to finish.
I understand.
It's kind of weird. You get like attached to it to where, I don't know how to explain it to you, but you move on to another project, but you still
I think it's probably like, the layouts, they never really are finished.
Yeah.
Right.
But they're not. I mean, with this, there's still stuff I got to do on it. It's not done. By any. I still got the lettering I got to do on it, the decal, striping.
Yeah, it never ends.
I
It
still got
doesn't.
a fuel car, do that, and finish out the caboose. I'm going to do the interior on the caboose. So there's still really a lot to do on it.
So, like you say, like you're happy you finished in a year, but when the point to where you received that locomotive, there were a lot of years put into that locomotive, right?
Oh yeah, a lot of hours. Yeah, John's probably. I'm guessing he probably had 2,000-3,000 hours in that engine just to
Right.
get to the point where I had it.
Yeah. So you were fortunate enough to
Oh
get
yeah,
it towards the end of its, required work. Per
yeah,
se.
because I never would have been able to do anything like that. So yeah.
Well, yeah, even in the RC deal, we always said, oh, they're labor of love. People would ask us how much do they cost, and we'd say, well, depends on what you want to put into it, but they're a labor of love because you can go buy one cheaper than you can build it.
Right.
Yeah.
But that was part of the fun, was the building part. But it was also a labor of love because you enjoyed doing it. Like to Jerry's point, you were almost sad that you finished it. You were proud that you finished it, and you were kind of glad that you got it to the point where you could go fly it, man. But then you didn't have it to work on. They would also say that about the RC planes. They're never really finished, but yeah, they are at some point. They're pretty much done.
Well, you have to be in love with the machine because it takes so long to build them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Some guys work on these things for 20 years before they're there. They never see them run. A lot of guys build them all their life, get old and die, and it passes on to something else.
Yeah.
But that's the key thing about like model railroading as a hobby, is that it never is done. There's, like you were talking, Steve, there's always something that you can do. Like you get a project finished, and then you can do, okay, well, hey, today I'm going to put some interior detail in a building. Next week I'm going to weather a couple of freight cars. I'm going to super detail an engine. I'm going to rework a scene. It's done, but it's never finished.
Right.
Yeah.
You can always create work.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I think model railroading is a better hobby in that sense than a lot of other hobbies, because you can add so much detail to it because you're trying to imitate life in general. There's a lot of stuff you can put in that you don't get with other hobbies. I mean, if you paint and you're painting a landscape or something, there's only so much you can put on that canvas before you got to quit putting stuff on there, because then it starts changing to what it is,
Yeah, you got to
But
know.
that's not true with the layout necessarily, because there's a lot of little stuff you can put on there that, and I'm looking forward to that on my layout. But that to me is a lot of the fun stuff too, is getting that minute detail stuff on them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Rob T, man, most things in life, including layouts, when completed, then you start with repairing and replacing things when they wear out.
Yep.
And Oh, by the way, we've got Container Man Roy. Hello, Roy. And we also got Stu popped in. Welcome to the show.
Hey,
Stu. Welcome.
It's not finished. Let's see. Gail's in. Good morning, Gail.
Morning, Gail.
Here, Gail.
Where's breakfast?
Dennis, speaking of Gail, did she see the text I sent you back after you sent me the pictures?
what?
Saying that you were almost done, or you were getting there. Did she see what I called you? Did you show her that? Gail, I called him Rockefeller.
Oh.
Anyway. Yeah, Dennis sent me some pictures. I'll let you take the camera over if you want and show us what you sent me pictures of if you want. You don't have to, but if you want to, you can. I'm not taking mine upstairs because I've got drop cloths and everything else out for the plaster, so there's nothing really to see.
Yeah, I mean, if you want me to, Part of my
I don't care.
technical difficulties this morning was my iPad, even though I had plugged it in all morning, wasn't charging. And it went dead right before the broadcast. So I've only got about 9% battery life at the moment on my iPad.
Oh, well, then don't bother.
We might wait, towards the end of the show. Maybe I'll be able to show you then. That would be a better plan, I think. Because I did get quite a little bit done, since last time.
What is chocolate lasagna?
In some parts of the world, I think they call it better than sex cake.
Okay.
So you take a layer of Oreo cookies, you crush them up, you put them in the bottom of the pan. Then it's like a layer of cream cheese, a layer of chocolate pudding, a layer of chocolate pudding, a layer of cream cheese. And you just keep layering that, and then you have Cool Whip on the top with sprinkles of.
Brenda makes something like that, but she always just called it chocolate stuff because she never knew what the name was. Hers is slightly different.
Lasagna, because it's layered like a lasagna.
Yeah, hers is slightly different. She uses it's not Oreos on the bottom, but it's another crust that she puts down. But yeah, it's really good.
It's one of my absolute favorite desserts.
Yeah, it's her favorite dessert.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not sure. Gail should have put that up there, but it's not the same as better than sex cake. Okay. I'm not going to ask for an explanation,
Okay.
Gail.
No, not
I'm not stepping in that.
wow.
Anyway,
Funny.
That's great.
so all we had for dessert was pumpkin pie. So
We had a pumpkin pie, we had the chocolate lasagna, and then my brother-in-law brought an apple sopapilla cheesecake.
ooh,
Sopapilla.
sounds good.
What is a sopapilla?
You don't know what a sopapilla is?
Obviously not. No.
You East Coast people. Gosh, I'm sorry.
I'm from the upper Midwest, transferred to the East Coast. I don't know what it is either.
I'm from the West Coast. I've never heard of it.
Well, I mean, you have to live somewhere probably in the South, I guess, to know what a sopapilla is. But a sopapilla is
I'm in Southern Oregon.
It's a fry bread.
It's a Mexican fry bread kind of thing.
Okay.
And it's a traditional after you eat at a Mexican food restaurant type of I don't know what do you call it? Complimentary dessert.
Oh,
Yeah.
And so the top of the sopapilla cheesecake is basically sopapilla, and then the underneath side is kind of cream cheese. We like a lot of cream cheese in our family.
Right.
But, my brother-in-law, and I don't know what the recipe is, but and then he drizzled caramel all over the top of that, and
Oh wow.
Yeah. it was
Yeah,
good.
because sopapilla is just plain sopapilla, no butter or anything. You take a hot sopapilla and they're a puffed up pastry, almost like a pita pocket bread, but real light pastry. And you get them good and hot, and then just put honey in them, and they're really good like that.
It's kind of like cinnamon. They also put cinnamon sugar on top of them.
Sometimes, yeah,
Kinda
I've seen them
like a
that way.
cinnamon toast kind of thing.
Hey, Bernard says he smoked 2 turkeys and 2 hams, 4 families. How do you get the turkey
Wow.
little rolling papers to smoke?
He probably had to take out a small loan for the turkeys.
Or did you have a big pie?
Oh goodness gracious!
I'm just wondering how.
Yeah, that'd be a fat joint, wouldn't it? Put a turkey in one of them. Yeah.
Turkey bong.
So they sound like funnel cake to me, without the sugar.
Yeah, it would be very similar to Indian fry bread.
Yeah.
Gail cracks me up.
Bernard says a turkey.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know we were going to go to food, but Lynn, as far as the cooking shows, you don't want to come to my house. My wife's on there all the time. In fact, when my son comes in town, they're in the kitchen almost 24/7. They're always cooking something. Because my son likes to cook it from scratch. And my wife I was surprised because I had asked her if she was going to make green bean casserole. You know, that's kind of a staple Thanksgiving thing. And usually make it with canned mushroom soup or whatever she does it. Or most people do it. Well, she made it from scratch. And I didn't know that and took a bite of it. And it was like, oh my God, what'd you do to this? Because it's so much better than it normally is. But yeah, she'll do that every once in a while. And I'll say, what'd you do to this? This is really good. Well, she made it from scratch, and it's so much better that way.
Yeah.
And she uses so much heavy cream. Yeah, we'll probably end up with diabetes too at some point.
Gail says, I crack myself up. Dennis doesn't think my jokes are that funny. Probably because they're mostly about him.
That's why she likes us, because we're always teasing him. Yeah, that's the way it is.
I feel for you, Dennis.
That's all right.
Lynn said even in the hospital, that's all she watches, the cooking channel. Yeah. My wife would be pretty close to that. If it's not cooking, it's a hospital show of some sort, which kind of concerns me. Gail.
Go to work.
Hi, Gail.
Bye, Gail.
What would y'all talk about if I wasn't in the show?
We would talk about you. That's what we would talk about. She's getting ready to leave, so.
Oh, so now well, yeah, but it's going to be recorded
Digging
and
up
put
the
back
road.
up on.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
better
going to be
pick up
recorded
the
and put back up there.
Yeah, I'm very thankful for her too, by the way. I didn't mention that early on, but
Yeah,
I
you
have a
guys are
wonderful
really blessed, I tell you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm lucky in that regard for sure. She's been 43 years. So yeah. Yeah, Brenda and I met in 9th grade. We've known each other since 9th grade. So
Wow.
That's amazing.
it's a wonder she's not tired of me yet.
Well, you have to put up with you for that long.
Oh, tell me. It's amazing. Every day I wake up, I'm not out on the driveway somewhere.
So now that you guys are both retired, Claude, like, how do you like not get on each other's nerves?
Well, she's enjoying retirement so much that she's got, just for the extra time she has now. She plays pickleball twice a week.
Who?
She golfs at least once a week, if not twice a week.
Pickleball.
Then she cleans the house like on Monday, which, you know, she never really had time to do that before. So she always hired somebody to come in and clean, but she cleans on Monday mornings. And
Well, if ping pong and tennis had a baby, pickleball would be it.
yeah, you play with a wiffle ball kind of ball and short paddles.
Really?
They look like a racquetball paddle, but they're smaller and or like an overgrown ping pong paddle is what they look like. But it's it's a little short game. But she goes up to the rec center and it's all the old people go up there and play. And that's the truth. That she said there's one lady up there that's over 90 that plays, and she's really good. So I'm thinking I can't go because my feet won't handle the back and forth. But
Claude, I think Roy has nailed how come you guys have been married so long. She has her place downstairs, and you have your place upstairs.
That helps.
Well, of course, before the upstairs, I had the place out in the shop, but when we were looking for a house, because before we built this house, we looked for a house, and I was always looking for a place to be a shop where I could build my airplanes because I was still doing that at the time. So when we bought this house, we talked to the builder. Well, we didn't buy the house, we had it built. But when we were in that process, we were saying, can we change basically what they would call the mother-in-law suite that's downstairs into just a shop? Can we eliminate the bathroom, just have a sink in there, and then just have that space as fairly well open? And he was saying, yeah, we can do this, this, and this, and this. And then I had to move the doorway from the hallway to the garage. So I've got 2 doors that come into the house from the garage, but the shop is separate. And what that did was keep all the sawdust out of the house, balsa wood dust from the airplanes. So, yeah, she was instrumental in looking for that. In fact, she knew I liked it so well that she was adamant that I had that space.
That is good.
She wasn't as keen on the railroad going upstairs, but we had that space too. So, but yeah, she lets me do my thing, and she knows. Well, it's just like keeping a wife happy. You know, everybody's happy when mama's happy, right?
Happy life, happy wife.
And so she kind of looks at it like that. So, but when you're married 40 plus years, you got to compromise. I mean, there's a lot of give and take there. So, and
Yeah.
because I got a party room. It's not a party room, it's a game room. But that was also on our list. So I might show that one day when I go up there. It's across from the train room. So
Yeah.
anyway, everybody's curious.
My
Do you
20.
use the game room?
I'm sorry?
Do you use the game room?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we have a shuffleboard table up there.
Okay.
I got her an old electromechanical pinball machine that kind of matches the room. And I got her that for Christmas one year. And we've got a big TV up there and a game table and dartboard. And
Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
yeah, and it's decorated in the football colors. My son works at Oklahoma State, but I went to Oklahoma State too for a short while. So we're Oklahoma State fans, and it's decorated in orange and black and gray. So yeah, I'll show it to you someday.
Nice.
But we knew we wanted the shuffleboard table, so that's one of the things. The train room was supposed to be the game room, and it had a theater room in it, but we didn't want a theater room. So we said, can we make that the game room? And then on the game room that was supposed to be, which is out over the 3-car garage, is kind of an odd shape. It's got a dormer. You've seen my train room. That's the dormer that's in there. But we wanted the shuffleboard table, so we had them kind of swap, and we had that room just made as an indoor storage area.
So how big is your train room compared to your game room? Which one is bigger?
The game room's bigger.
Really?
Yeah, we've got a 14-foot shuffleboard table in there.
So how come you didn't want your train room to be the biggest room?
Oh, because I wasn't doing trains at the time.
Oh, you weren't? Okay.
No, but I wouldn't have done that anyway. If I would have been doing it different, I would have probably had the shop be the train room. But I was still working at that time and had a lot of my tools and stuff like that in there. So
trains are pretty recent for you then.
I just got back into it 3 years ago. Yeah.
Okay, but you had been into it years ago.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I had trains when I was younger. Yeah. And then the kids come along and bye-bye for a while. And then you get the time and maybe a little bit more money and you get back into it. I think that's a classic example of model railroading.
Yeah. I figured you were in it for a long time.
Oh, you still run across people that are in it all their life.
No,
but
I figured you were in it trains for 10, 20, or 30 years or something.
Yeah, I had a 4x12 in my bedroom when I was in high school. So it was my bed, my dresser, and my train layout. There wasn't much room for anything else.
No, 4x12.
No. So yeah, I've been in it for a long time, but then I got out of it and I wasn't around it at all for a long time.
Gotcha.
So just recently got back into it. But anyway, what's everybody talking about over here?
Well, I was just going to say, they're talking about how long they've been married and all that good stuff. I got a 25-year anniversary coming up this next week, too.
Good for
There you
you.
go.
Nice.
Happy anniversary. Oh, Bernard said he's been married. They've known each other since his 40s for 47 years. Well, we're probably close to that. I don't know. How old were you in 9th grade? 14, 15, something like that? 14?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, around there.
And I'm 65, so Yeah, we've known each other a long time.
I'm sure there were a few 20-year-old ninth graders too.
We had a couple at my school.
Well, I
Every
remember going to
school's
school
got
with a
those.
kid that was in my 6th grade class, and he was shaven and had a heavy beard. So I
You
don't
know,
know,
if he
dude.
was the teacher or somebody from the street.
No, it was a kid in the class.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bernard. Yeah, this is true of my wife also. She had to live with all the planes, trains, and automobiles. I didn't have a lot of automobiles, but yeah, she had to live with all that. So I'm thankful for that also.
Yeah, you scored. You really scored, Chip.
Yeah, very lucky, very, very lucky in that regard. All righty. So what else is going on up here? Bernard likes shuffleboard. Yeah, it's a fun game. Oh, Chuck says he has his own computer room or train shed. She's in the house. Yeah. Sometimes you got to get your own time away, your own space and do your own thing for a little bit. And for years, I tried to get her to go, go do stuff, but she was always so tired because she's working all the time.
Does your wife have a hobby, Claude?
She likes to cook. She likes cooking. She'll try new stuff. Making homemade tamales and pasta.
Yeah.
There's not much she can't do cooking. So she loves to cook. But she likes playing pickleball now. She likes playing golf. She got back into golf and she's
that's cool.
Yeah, she's playing golf again. So she's got some hobbies. But she never really did that stuff when she was working all the time.
She didn't have time.
Didn't have time. When you got kids, the kids take it all up. I would coach ball teams and she'd keep score and then as they got older, my daughter was, over here and my son's over here. So then we're split up that way doing that stuff. And it takes tons of time. And people with kids know, kids take up all your time when they're growing up. So you don't get to do the stuff you want to do all the time. It's rare in a lot of cases. But,
Before we run out of time, we need to see what Bill's been up to.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I've been up to a little bit this week. Let me.
I'll make him solo here. Then I can pick my nose while I'm off camera.
TMI.
The same thing. I was hoping Dennis would have showed his so I could have blowed my nose when. So what I've been doing is the other part of the layout. So this past week, I've gotten scenery done along the ON30 and along the O standard gauge. And then other things that I've been doing is down by the big trestle, I put in abutments, which I had not put them in prior, which was stupid. Lesson learned, always put your abutments in before you put your, rest of your stuff in. But what I ended up doing is I came in and I put in 2 drywall screws into my existing hard shell scenery. And then I used Sculptamold and I built these in place. So Sculptamold abutments, and then I used like a little 1/16, 1/8 inch pieces of balsa wood to press into these to give me the texture. And then the head of a nail that I just kind of rolled to give me what looks like, a block pattern. So nice little abutment there. And then another abutment over on that side. And then what I've been doing here the past few days is I've got the scenery mostly done down below the trestle.
That looks good.
Yeah, looking good.
Yeah. So what I've started to do, and I started to do it this morning actually before the show, is I've got my first water pour down for my little river scene, which, is just basically this little corner of the layout. I used plexiglass as a form and then painter's tape on the inside of that, which looking at YouTube, everybody was saying that the stuff doesn't stick to painter's tape. So I use painter's tape just so it doesn't stick to the plexiglass. Then I added like a very small bead of white glue just as a sealant along the edge down at the bottom. And I used a toothpick to put that in last night just so that I didn't get any drips, and the floor is dry. So I think I succeeded. So this is my first pour. Later in the afternoon, I will come in and put in my second pour. Said to wait like 4 hours in between pours. And I'll probably do one, maybe two additional pours. I don't want it to be too much, but I want it to be just up a little farther on the bank and a little higher on these rocks that are sticking out.
Okay. Gotcha.
So that's what I've been doing this week. Just working on this area here. And once I get this river scene done, then the scenery, the basic scenery will be done on this module. And then I can go back over to the center module where I've got the, the switches and other stuff on that far side. And then I can start to work on that. So, I've got most of the big stuff wrapped up on the layout already.
Speaking of big stuff, I like that big tree down at the bottom near the river.
Yeah, that's the one that I scratch built.
So, Bill, I have a question.
Yeah.
Scale feet. How big is your trestle?
I don't know. Let's find out. I don't. Hang on just a second. Let me get my tape measure out. And it's a quarter, so like 1 inch is like 4 feet, right? For O scale. So this is 16 inches. So what is it, like 48? No, 32, 60 some feet.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, so the tree, like the O scale tree down here. So this is kind of a smaller deciduous tree that's only about 11 inches tall at the highest. And then the other tree that's behind it is sitting up higher on a chunk of rock, but it's a smaller tree overall.
Right.
So these are built the same way. So this is my pointer for today, I guess. That's the grapevine wire. Glued over a 3/8 inch dowel core, and then just the grapevine wires are part of the branches that go off. And then I used the heat shrink and super tree material inserted into the heat shrink, which I super glued on the ends to help stiffen it up. And then heat shrunk the heat shrink, painted over it with wood glue, and then sprinkled Woodland Scenics ground cover on it to give you a tree. Pretty quick. Doesn't take long to build them either. It really is an easy process.
Really?
As usual, Bill, it looks really nice.
It looks great. It sounds like it takes a long time to do it.
It doesn't. Actually, the longest part to make a tree is to do the glue up of the trunk, both in the deciduous as well as like the pine trees. And it's simply not so much that it takes a long time for you to do it, but just because you have to let the glue dry before you can go on to the next steps. When you mass produce like the pine trees, you can do, I do them in batches of like 11 to 22 at a time.
That's the best way.
Glue them up, and I can get all of the trunks glued up initially in like 15 minutes. And then, you wait for a couple of hours before you can go and add more glue and then roll them into the ground cover. So there's processes to it, but it works. The trees, the trunks, I think the trunks of the deciduous trees, each one probably took me maybe a total of 20 minutes each total to build them up. And then the other parts of the process, like the putting the super tree material and all that on, I did all that in about an hour for each tree during the evening this week after work. It doesn't take that long once you do it.
Yeah.
We got somebody back in chat. Yeah, New Fenris is back in chat. If I remember correctly, wasn't it Bill?
Yeah, Bill.
Bill, yeah. Hey, Bill. Good to see you again.
Good.
No, sir. Welcome back.
Jason's here.
Jason's back.
Hey, Jason.
Hey, Bill, we'll have to get you back on the show and do a layout update.
Yeah, there you go.
Was Bill on the show?
Yeah, he was on the show a while back. Uh-oh. Here we go.
What's that? You got another guy up here?
Dennis,
That's Dennis. Let me do this here. This is what he was showing me. He had started the loop out of town right there and going around to where he's working on the 3-way turnouts.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Didn't you
Yeah,
say you
that's
had
great.
20-something turnouts up there that you got to build?
Yeah. So I've got all the turnouts from here back to here are ready to go. I just need to kind of finalize a few things in here and make sure that I know exactly where they're going to lay in before I make them permanent. But I've got this yard set in now. There's going to be 3 tracks here, so that I've got the main line will run on the underneath side, and it can cross over and go east or stay on the bottom and come through here and head south. And then, of course, I've got my spline. I just finished this up last night. I haven't sanded it or anything, but I should have all this track laid before the end of the weekend, and probably 3 tracks laid in here, just kind of set and chill for a while. But, you know, it's interesting looking at Bill's layout. What you just saw him explaining is almost exactly what's going to go right here. I'm going to have a curb trestle through here, and I don't think I'm going to have any water at all, but it's going to look real similar. There's going to be lots of areas on my railroad that, you know, by the time I get finished, everyone's going to go, "Oh, you copied off of Bill, didn't you?" Because there's just a lot of similarities in a few places.
So where the trestle, Dennis, where the trestle's going to go, will you cut out that spline?
Yeah. So
Okay.
eventually, because the spline is made in such a way that I can pop it off and I can actually set it up against the wall over here. And once I get it all ready to go and I'm ready to start working on scenery, you can just take a hacksaw or something and cut through, you know, make sure it's supported on either side, and then that whole thing can remove off, and that becomes the template that, you know, my thought is I will actually trace that on a piece of paper, and then I'll know exactly where to lay all my ties when I go to build the trestle itself.
Yeah, that'll look fantastic when you get that going, Dennis.
Yeah.
And then, you know, of course, over here, I've got it all tore down at the moment. Don't mind all the coffee cups. I might have a problem. But, you know, somewhere in here, there will probably be more than one trestle. I haven't really seen it in my mind's eye yet. But, and another thing I'm thinking, you know, right in through here, a window through the fascia and just a little bit of scenery through there. I'm not sure yet, but that's definitely something I've got in the back of my mind. If I can make that work, I will.
Yeah, like
that's where I'm at now.
now.
Be ready to run trains, hopefully up to frying pan. If I'm lucky, I might get that done before the end of the weekend to actually run a train up there. We'll see how it works out.
Oh, wait a minute. Wrong one. Hang on here, Dennis. Jason wants to know, does anyone have experience in building a compound yard ladder with all curved turnouts? I could use some advice on where to start. I would like to build as one piece. Jason, you got to go see Dennis's last video that he put up. He shows the one that he's got right down in that far corner that he pointed to where the tortoises are, I think is where it's going to sit. Can you move down there, Dennis? This looks really cool, but that's exactly what he's done here.
I'm not going to swear that it's a compound, though. You know that
it actually is, because if you're using the inside radius going to an outside radius on those curves, that's compound curve.
Yeah,
you got two different radiuses there. So
when he says compound, I kind of get a different picture in my mind of what that may or may not be. I'm assuming he's wanting two different diverging routes off of a main line.
Could be.
Of course, it's hard to say, but
He says it doesn't
I
look
wouldn't swear
like
that I
what
have
he
any
has planned.
experience in that for sure.
Yeah,
What,
he
Claude?
said it doesn't look like what he has planned, but that's kind of
Right.
what I had in mind when he said that.
I mean, I have somewhat of a compound ladder, but I didn't use curved turnouts. This is somewhat compound here, where you've got a left hand coming off of a right hand on one side, yada yada, in through here. This is a little more what I view of when I think about compound. I'm just trying to figure out in my mind how you would even approach that with all curved radius turnouts. You'd have to have a lot of space, in my opinion, Jason. I could certainly see doing it if everything was the same radius. The problem you're going to run into is keeping any one radius consistent throughout turnouts, especially if you're not lucky enough to have a series of turnouts that work with each other to serve that purpose. Because that's what I found out is, stacking even with mine where I've got the 19 inside, the 24 outside over here. They fight each other a little bit on the radiuses because the outside radius needs to be different than the inside radius the further out you go. And you're not going to find anything that's going to make that work easily unless you go to fast tracks. And even then, I'm not sure.
Yeah, he says these would all be number 10, two that are 3630 and one that is 3027. Well, that would go to what Dennis just said about it would have to increase as you went out.
Yeah.
And I think
yeah,
he's right
I'm
there.
sure you can make it work. I would just, and I'm sure you probably got the if they're fast tracks, get the templates and lay the templates out and see how it works. If they're not fast tracks and they're pre-made, which I'm not familiar with that, I would throw them up on a printer and take a photograph, a copy of the actual turnouts, and then duplicate them and then kind of lay it out that way is where I would begin with.
Yeah, that's a good way to go. Is with the templates. If you can find the templates, if not, yeah, you have to just put them on a scanner and scan them.
Yep.
Scan them 1-to-1 if it's commercial turnout, and you probably can buy with it that way. Oh, he says, okay, here we go. Track 4 would be 36, track 2 and 3 30, and track 1 27. I have the Fast Tracks template already taped together, but not sure which turnout to start with. I would think that would depend on the space you have and how you're coming into it. I would think the tighter one first and then go out, but it could be the other way around too. But they're going to end up being different downstream from where you enter the yard, depending on how you start. And you're just going to have to work that out for the space you've got. I mean, that's what I'm thinking in my head anyway.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking too.
And he's doing away with all his commercial turnouts. Not a bad step. But, there's something to be said for some of the better commercial turnouts. But, cost-wise, I needed enough that the fast tracks made sense. And Dennis, for sure, he's got a lot more turnouts than I have on mine. So it really made sense for him.
And Pal, you said, what is bullhead rail? He needs a source for code 55 bullhead rail.
Bullhead rail.
Hey, Dennis.
Yes, sir.
What do you think it costs you per turnout to make?
You know, I really don't have a clue.
Less time, less your time, just
I-
material.
I just materials, because the thing is I'm gonna change views here. I'm gonna go back to my chair.
And Claude, you can answer too, or anybody else that makes their own turnout.
What, I'm sorry, what'd you ask? I wasn't paying attention.
What do you have an idea what it costs per turnout in parts, not labor?
Oh, to do the fast tracks?
Yeah,
Oh, it's not counting the jig.
yeah. Don't count.
If you've already got the jig, because that's your biggest investment. The jig and your filing tools are your biggest investment.
Right.
But parts for each one, I'd say less than $10. You're probably 7, 8, maybe.
Right.
When you're talking about your rail and your PCB ties. Now that's not counting railroad ties that you would put under that. Now, if you use the fast tracks, wait a second, we're getting an echo here.
Okay, the head rail bottom web is the same width as the top of rail tops.
I don't know. I've not seen anybody that's got those, but I haven't looked for them either.
Yeah.
Now, okay, here you go. Mark Pruitt says if you use the quick six ties, it's about $10 at most. Ties are $8.10. Yeah, I was going to say, if you're using the quick sticks from Fast Tracks, which is the turnout, all the turnout ties that you glue the turnout to after you build it, and they look really nice like that, but they're $8 a piece for that set. I've been using mainly ties that I bought in bulk, okay, and gluing them in individually. You could do it either way.
The fast track ones come already in a set, like assembled. You don't have
the quick stick ties. Yeah, they're the whole turnout set of ties. And they have places where you break out for all the PCB ties to fit in. Yeah, he's got one right there.
Gotcha.
Here, hang on a second. Let me make you big here, Dennis. That's the quick sticks. And so the cutout places are for the PCB ties to fit into. And that makes a nice looking turnout. The problem is the cost starts to go up quite a bit.
Sure.
If you've got as many as Dennis has, it goes up a lot. If you only have 10 to 12 turnouts on your layout, Fast Tracks is not the way to go. Unless you just want to do it, because your cost overall is going to be more per turnout than buying commercial.
Right.
But like I was doing, and Dennis has done some of the dual gauge turnouts, those are $50 and up now for the Walthers or the Shinohara dual gauge turnouts. $50 a piece. So if you've got two of those, you can buy a jig.
Yeah, you bought your jig with two.
If you have three of them, that's your jig and your one of your filing tools. So
I figure I paid for both. I've got a number 6 and a number 8, which is the primary turnouts I use. I figure I paid for both of those fixtures just in my staging yard.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have that many more turnouts in at least another location, if not 2 locations. I haven't decided on whether or not I'm going to go full bore and do another east end staging yard similar to this one or not. I haven't, that's yet to be determined.
You're in trouble, Dennis.
Why?
Gail heard what I said.
Yeah, you're busted. It's a big question mark.
What would you say, Claude?
She heard what I said about the cost.
What, that I saved money?
Oh, no. Well, no, she heard what I said about how much it cost. But yeah, you do save money in the long run, for sure.
Claude.
I didn't, no, I'm not going to say
One of those turnouts is $56. I've got it reduced down to like 10.
Yeah, exactly. And like Mark said, he's got, how many did he say he had left to build? 60 something? He's got to build 59. turnouts on his layout to build. So yeah, if you've got a big layout and you're having a lot of turnouts, it's a cost savings way to go, especially if you don't buy the quick sticks. But even if you buy the quick sticks, you're still saving money per turnout.
Yeah,
that you can buy
I think if you decide to go with quick sticks, what you have just almost made it's almost moot at that point. You just as well have bought a manufactured turnout instead of building your own.
Yeah, it's close. Depends on where you're getting your commercials and which ones you buy and all that kind of stuff. You know, and then of course, if you just don't want to build your own, then go commercial. But
well, in HO narrow gauge, you really have like virtually no choice anyway.
Yeah, there's very few places. In fact, I was going to go with the B&K turnouts, you know, which are the points and the frog, and and guardrails on them. But those were not cheap, you know, and those don't have any ties on them. So once I weighed, you know, I had bought some of those, and then once I started weighing the cost of what it was going to cost, the Fast Tracks made. Plus, I like the building end of it. For me, that's a lot of the hobby. So it made sense for me. But we are past our hour, by the way.
Yeah, we are.
Always happens.
Goes quick.
Yeah,
Well, guys, go ahead.
Bill wants to know how the steamer's going. Go check. It's done and running. Go check out my video update. Okay, now we can go.
Yeah, if you want to see Steve's steamer, go check his and check everybody's channel out. And we will catch you here next week, guys. And thanks again, Steve and Jerry and Dennis and Bill.
As always, my pleasure.
Have a good week.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, and we will
see you next week.
Dive into the 4th year of the show some more next week.
Wow.
See you guys later.
See you
Bye-bye.
guys.
Take care, everybody.